Welcome to Surrender School.
First, I'm going to read the mission statement. At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We also have other types that aren't related to food that have other addictions, and obviously you are very welcome here, and we love working the steps with you. All right, we're not an official 12-step meeting, but we do adhere to the spirit of the traditions. All right, so real quick, I'm going to cover what's currently in session. We have Supercharge Recovery, which is this, and you are here. It's 10:30 Pacific time almost every Sunday for 2025. We also have related office hours, which are about the Enneagram, so other questions or sharing or whatever, and that's Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and also Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We also have First Friday Enneagram Exchange with Michael Naylor. He's covering the 3 instincts for the next several months. And then after that, it'll just be kind of a podcast kind of feel, except that it will include question and answers from the audience. So we have the book study. And the difference between a book study and a reading room is that the book study, you read the book on your own, and then we just kind of discuss it. The reading rooms, we actually read them together. So the book study, The Alchemy of the Enneagram and Transforming Addiction with the author, Michael Naylor, that is monthly, once a month on Mondays, different Mondays each month. So just check the website for the specific dates on that. We do send stuff in WhatsApp and so forth, so everybody knows what's coming up. But anyway, keep an eye out on that. The reading rooms are Drop the Rock, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific. The AA 12 and 12 are reading together on Tuesdays at 1:30 Pacific time. And then Alan Berger's The 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety are Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. All right, I want to dig in just a little bit here to talk about a couple of new things that we have going on. So these both start in May. The details will be out on the website within the next few days. They're not there right now, but I wanted to give you a little sneak peek at this. The 12 Steps in 12 Weeks is a step study, and it is our 2025 step study. It's Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific. It starts on May 3rd. There is also a 30-day intensive daily recovery workshop led by Linda T. that starts in May. So if you're interested in that, reach out to Linda T. and let her know that you're interested in participating in that. And once again, it's a daily thing, a daily meeting. I think it's in the evenings U.S. time, which means probably the people in Europe are asleep, I'm thinking. So, okay. And then also the Enneagram Exchange, which I already talked about. All right. Pretty much everything we offer. Consider taking, experiencing, working, attending. Consider taking the past workshops or book studies that are all recorded out on the Surrender School website. Experiencing the meditations by steps. Most of them are about 5 minutes long. And if you're going to take the step, it's a really good way before you do your journaling to go ahead and do the meditation so that you kind of are in present. Consider working. What I have here is that new step study that's coming up, and also the intensive. Those are both coming in May. And then consider saving your money now to attend the in-person retreat, which will be in 2026 in Las Vegas. If you're interested in helping with that, reach out to Joy. All right, all of this can be found on the surrenderschool.org website. Consider being a volunteer we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. Especially the more meetings we have, the more volunteer opportunities we have. And I just say, reach out to Lori. It's really funny, Lori, when she first came to us at Surrender School, she said, I am willing to do anything except I don't want to be the volunteer coordinator. And guess what? She ends up being the volunteer coordinator. So be careful what you don't want to do, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. But thank you, Lori, for all the work you do. All right. Then willing to lead a breakout room today, chat to Lori B. But right now, Lori already has the leaders that she needs for today. But that is something, too. If you want to be on the list for breakout room leaders, you can reach out to her and let her know that, too. And then you end up on the list, which is nice. And I will tell you, when we get to step 4, which is coming up next week, we start sharing on step 4. There's going to be fewer people in the breakout rooms, which means we are going to need more people to lead the breakout rooms, because you're going to be sharing on more and probably even more deeply too, because the questions are like really cool. Okay. All right, if Surrender School has helped you recover, please donate. You'll find the donate button, and there's also something at the top if you want to donate. We do ask that you donate because we do have expenses, even though we are a not-for-profit 501(c) organization, and none of us take any money for what we do. There are expenses that we incur, so it's nice to have those covered. So consider donating. Thank you. 12 steppers do, I know, so that's great. All right, join the Surrender School WhatsApp group. You may also want to sign up for the daily Ennea Thought at enneagraminstitute.com. You can get a couple of Ennea Thoughts every day. I read those. They're very helpful to me, I think. Okay. All right, now let's take a moment to feel your breath going in and out and literally feel your feet on the floor. If you're sitting in a chair, feel your butt on the chair. What you want to do is kind of ground yourself so that you are 100% present. Don't think about anything that happened this morning or any time before now, and don't worry about anything that's happening in the future. Just be here present. Together, let's do the simple set aside prayer. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right, so the goal of this course is a personal journey. I'm really enjoying the fact that this time around, it feels like it truly is becoming a personal journey for each person. And I'm just delighted that that is happening. So our focus is to help you understand the relationship between your false self, that ego structure, personality that we inevitably as human beings put on in order to survive, and then your true self, which is your deepest self, and to treat yourself with unrelenting compassion when you start seeing that because you're human. All right, so we called this Supercharge recovery, and basically the study is how we are working the step by type. If you don't know your Enneagram type, you will want to take the test so that at least that guides you in the direction of your Enneagram type. And then we do believe if you do the work that you will be supercharged. One of the premises of this, actually the whole organization, is that self-contempt stops spiritual growth. So it's as if your higher power, my higher power, said, you can grow spiritually or you can hate yourself. You can't do both at the same time. You pick, and I'll wait. And I'm choosing spiritual growth. Most days I choose spiritual growth. All right. One reminder is to be kind. The best way to be kind is to share your growth and your journey without commenting on others, which is kind of ironic coming from me since I comment a lot on other things. But anyway, please, whatever it is whatever your share is, whatever you're sharing, be kind to yourself and to others as well. All right. And the plan, basically each week, the way it works is we share a little bit on the topic on a topic from last week, and then we cover a little bit of information. Then we go randomly into breakout rooms. Then we come back together for questions and sharing and so forth. One thing I want you to keep in mind, I keep this slide here all the time because of the reason that A.H. Almas, who's an Enneagram guide, says that as we are working and asking ourselves questions and answering questions and journaling on questions, what happens is our patterns, we see that they are patterns, and we see our projections, those stories we tell ourselves, we see those projections. And when that happens, then that's when the ego structure begins to dissipate, right? We see patterns as patterns, we see projections as projections, and then that ego structure begins to dissipate. It never disappears, but it does dissipate, which allows us to live in our true self, which is what our goal is. Okay. Now, I do want to say, after the breakout room, if at all possible, stick around, because I'm going to show you how we're going to be working step 4. Step 4, obviously, you know this if you work the steps, is one of the most complex steps. So, and basically it'll have launch questions and inventory lists, right? Step 4 lasts 6 weeks. So I introduced step 4 this week, and it lasts all the way until the first week of May. So it is 6 weeks long, or all 4 weeks in April, this week, and the week in May. And that gives us enough time to be able to do everything that we need to do for step 4 to get ready for step 5. And that'll include a little bit of training on how to be an observer for step 5, because within our organization, within Surrender School, we'd love to be able to have people prepared to be the observer for step 5. And then that the goal of that is to make steps 6 and 7 just come alive, which is what we have found in doing working through these questions the pilot group working through the questions. Okay. Last week, we covered what might make step 3 difficult for our type. I'm not going to cover this again, but we are going to share a little bit. If anybody has any things that you want to share on, did this seem to you true? Did this seem what made it difficult for you to work that step? So let's go ahead, and I'm going to stop sharing and see if anybody raises their hand to talk about, was step 3 difficult for this reason, or was there another reason that step 3 was difficult? If it was difficult. Anybody?
Yeah, as a type 2, I thought that I had fully surrendered, like if you had told me, but doing these questions has enlightened me a little bit more, because I still kind of pick it back up. Once I turn it over, I'm still picking it back up in a way. And sometimes still not fully trusting, but suddenly it's like a shift has occurred in my relationship with God, who I choose to call my higher power, God. It's like now I'm finally resting in the peace, and I'm not being an anxious psycho, in the sense that I'm not like overdoing. I'm able to sit still. I'm able to relax into that stillness and that beautiful peace beyond all understanding. And the reason I say that is because there would be a time where I would be like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Just see me, or what do I need to do? What can I do for you? And just go overboard. Today was my pastor's birthday, and they had something after church. But no, I don't need to be. I'm not there for a man. I'm there for my relationship with God. And it's just been a total shift in the way that I relate to myself and other people. But before, I was a slave to it. I was a slave to the codependency, to the compulsivity of it all, of people pleasing and not even taking care of myself. And thank God for the freedom that I'm feeling. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. And actually that is exactly the pattern. Once we see that pattern, right, we see the patterns show up as patterns, and we go, oh, look what I've been doing, right? That's exactly it. And then obviously, and I'm so happy to hear that, because it's like, then it's what we can forgive ourselves for that and say, oh, okay, I see it now. That's good. And we can love ourselves about that, right? Because it's human. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Okay, Shirley, to you. Go ahead.
Oh, I am. Okay. So I'm Shirley, and I'm a 2, and I can totally relate to what you just said, Jasmine, about how my innate and intuitive desire to help others has led to all this self-neglect. So just thinking over the questions from this step, and some of the suggestions that have been offered to me, like trust that my higher power loves me, and practicing self-love, and that believing that I'm not responsible for others' happiness, and trust that my needs matter too. That's such a good assessment. Like, all of that is unintuitive, not intuitive to me. So I'm kind of at what you were just talking about, Cher, the awareness phase. Like, I can at least see it now, I would say, a better percentage of the time. I'm not giving any percentages here, but that's really just all I want to say, is that I love the fact that somebody is right in there knowing that it's so counterintuitive. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Shirley, I want to say too, the fact that you asked for something, you asked me to go back to that, for a 2 is awesome. It's absolutely awesome, because 2s often do not take care of themselves. They'll have a need and will never say anything. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad you did that.
Oh, thank you. And Sherry, you did not look like a smile on your face. Like, you did not look like exactly happy.
Oh yeah, because I'd already closed the PowerPoint. So
yeah,
I was like, well, shit.
But
I'm still proud of you. Even if I'm a bitch, I'm still proud of you.
Okay, but that's especially for me to do that in the face of somebody not having a smile on their face is, oh my God, that was major.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's called relationship, right? That's what we do. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, very much. All right, Linda L, to you.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm a 9, and my little thing said, Well, I think I'm just gonna go watch this movie again, and that's I feel like I don't know if if things are changing as much, but I am aware when I am choosing to avoid it, when I go back to the games on my phone or whatever it is, I'm much more aware. And just gradually, there are just some things that they know I just go ahead and get that done right now. And it's a very gentle change, and I'm grateful for it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Another pattern, right? It's a pattern. And once we see it, then, and once again, gentle with ourselves, loving to ourselves. That's awesome. All right, Robin, to you.
Hi, it took me a moment there. So I didn't see the challenge questions, but I caught the word, and thank you, Shirley, for asking to see it again. But it was on earn, and that jumped out at me because that was, I believe, in the first question of step 3 about earning love. And at that time, when I wrote on that question, the word earn, which I know what it means, but I looked it up and it was kind of enlightening to read what it meant in terms of being a type 2. And I'm just going to read it: to receive as return for effort and especially for work done or services rendered. That was what it said. And then, in other words, if I earn a living, I expect to receive a paycheck, but this doesn't apply. So type 2s, they're giving, and then they can get into resentment because they don't understand why they're not getting back what they've been given. But there is no such thing as earning love. It doesn't work that way. And the question for this week, the first part of it was about God. Let's see what the question is. How can I trust that my higher power loves me even when I'm not doing things? So kind of put that together with that question, which I have found it really difficult. I mean, I've been in recovery for quite a long time, but believing and trusting and feeling that God loves me just because, that's kind of a reverse of me having that tendency to think that people will give to me as I give to them. And it's not based on anything I do. So, and I've had a breakthrough with experience. One of the challenges from step 2 about asking for what I want, which is also speaks to what type 2s don't do, which is to ask directly for what they want. So, I've been in program a long time, but it took coming here to have that breakthrough. So I'm really grateful for that. So thanks.
Thank you, Robin. I am too. And thank you so much. And the mantra for the type 2 is ask for what you need and ask again, for the best love comes from a full well, right? So yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Robin. Dave, to you.
Yeah, hi everybody. So I'm a type 8, and the what would make this difficult is good at making decisions, not as great at follow through. And that's true for me. And the interesting thing for me is I am learning more and more about the subtle ways that I try to exert control over other people. And I've become aware of the blatant ways since doing these workshops, and really am making an effort to say, defer to the other person when there's a decision to be made. It's like, I have a preference, but what would you like to do? But the more subtle thing was I had an experience recently, someone I'm very close to, who shall remain nameless right now, corrected me on a detail of something that I was talking about. And I said, well, okay, so I made a little verbal slip up. What's the big deal? And that person reminded me that I often correct her in that way. And that it's annoying to her, and that it's always been annoying to her. And so now the shoe is on the other foot. It's like, oh, now I understand that it isn't that pleasant to be corrected on something that's a really minor thing, and that is that is a control issue that I have. I've been aware of it for quite some time. I used to really annoy people and try not to as much now. Correcting people's grammar, correcting their spelling, stuff like that. It's like nobody likes that, and nobody likes a know-it-all. And when the shoe's on the other foot, it's a reminder. So it's kind of a reminder to me of, be careful what you pray for, because, you know, uh, step three to me is a type of prayer. And uh, it's like praying for patience. You get all these opportunities to practice patience, right? Praying for learning how to release that need to control. I get all these examples of how I control people. And so it's not always blatant. Sometimes it's very subtle, and it's a it's a habit I've had for a very, very long time, but it doesn't mean I can't change. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Dave. Kathy, to you.
Hi, Cher. I just wanted to share that I'm struggling with some of these questions because as a two, it talks about what's it going to take to convince myself my higher power loves me. And my religious studies have convinced me that my higher power loves me. The problem I have is loving myself. So maybe it's almost like I'm leaning towards a 4 in this case. Would that be applicable? Or
Maybe. Well, so let me just tell you what I have learned through my studies is very often in program, people will identify themselves as a 2 because they are giving, but their motivation is actually different than, right? So I'm not saying that that's true of you. I don't know, but it might be worth your while to take a look at the basic fear of the other types, and then
Okay.
just really sit down and journal on, does this ring true for me? Right. So
Okay.
the basic fear of the 2 is that they are unloved, and in some cases unlovable, if it's really serious. That is the source of the 2. The 4, their basic fear is that they are insignificant, and that means unworthy. But the 2, 3, and 4, all 3 of them have shame as that kind of base emotion that they have, which it sounds like, and almost always those are the 3 that have the biggest problem with self-contempt more than the other types, just because they're that base emotion. My base emotion for 8, 9, and 1 is anger, and 5, 6, and 7 is fear, right? So some of it is just taking a look at that and seeing. But I will say, we learn and change and grow. So a 2 can absolutely believe that God loves them. I mean, they can absolutely believe that with all their heart, but they still get stuck on this, right? And some of it is just making sure, and once again, the mantra is very powerful. Ask for what you need and ask again. And some people ask for what you want and ask again, right? Because that the best love comes from a full well, but that is also tied to and once again, I don't call it self-hatred, because hatred is like, I'd stab myself or something. I'm not even talking about that. Even just this self-contempt that says, you're such a loser. Why are you acting like that kind of self-talk and all that? So that can absolutely be, once you see it though, right? If you are a 2 and that's what you're doing, then once you see it, then you could just say, thanks for your opinion. I don't need it anymore. Right. And once again, it's almost like the cure for that self-contempt is not to resist it. It's to see it, observe it, and love yourself. I mean, and you say, oh, okay, I see. And as a child, I know that I was treated whatever way it was, right? And I get that. Okay, that's fine, right? I'm going to let that go, and I'm just going to love myself. And so some of it is an act of love, meaning I take special care of myself. This is for the 2s, right? And the 2s that I see, like Joy is a 2, and I watch in her, I've known her like 8 years, I think, such growth in her. And one of the major areas of growth is she actually exercises self-care, which she never used to do at all. And as a result, it's like she can treat herself as something precious, right? Which is so important to be able to treat yourself as something precious, because you are, right? Not just to God, but to yourself as well. And I think that's probably the answer. So if the basic fear doesn't ring true for the 2, take a look at some of the other ones. If it does ring true, then basically, right, the countermeasure for that self-contempt is love of yourself. And it's gentle and it takes time. Michael Naylor talks about it takes a lifetime. And all we do is observe and then just gently allow. I'm excited for you for 6 and 7 to come alive for you, because I think that's what this is all about. Most people, 6 and 7 is a couple paragraphs in the big book. Who cares? Oh no, this is about 6, right? So I'm very excited for you to experience that, Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, the other Kathy, go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to say that my difficulty, I will worry about that tomorrow. Today I will check out by reading a book that I have read before. I now know my 9ness is confirmed because I will do that just to check out. I'll read something I've read before rather than watch a movie. And it's so good to have that confirmation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah. We have our own personal brand of checking out, right? Yep. Thank you. All right, Vera, to you.
Hi. So this week was, thank you for the workshop, and this week has been the hardest of all weeks. And my challenge is to trust something. Well, not my challenge. I mean, what I find hard is to trust something that is unseen. And I know that I've got this control urge in my life, and I've been finding it really hard this week of all weeks. And I've seen that this pattern that you're talking about is just so quick and so overwhelming that I very quickly get into the matrix, very quickly get into that intensity and that longing and that sadness. And it was a really, really, really hard week. The pattern of it just, it's hard to observe it and see it in action so quick. It's like there's no pause, and I can't find the pause. I don't know. I just find
what is your type, Vera?
4.
A 4. Okay. And I will say, when we can't find the pause, this is going to sound really stupid, I think, but when we can't find the pause, some of that is just, we just forgive ourselves. Right now, I can't find the pause. It's okay. And I'm going to refer back to when Shirley asked to show the PowerPoint slide. I'd closed my PowerPoint. And so I was pissed at myself because why did you close your PowerPoint? I accidentally closed my PowerPoint of all the times, right? So I had this moment where I'm like, and then Shirley interpreted it, I think, as like something about her, and it wasn't. It was at myself. Okay, so even then I go, okay, guess what, Cheryl, you're human. This shit happens. Take a deep breath and move along, right? And so, but I didn't have the pause in the moment. I didn't have the pause. I was irritated, right? Okay, I'm human. That happens. Right? But guess what I get to do? I get to very quickly address the pause. And if I haven't yet, Shirley, I need to make amends to you. I'm sorry for that for my face, which apparently I can't act like something doesn't piss me off when it does, I suppose. So anyway, but my point is that when you can't find the pause, take a deep breath and realize you're going to notice the pause later. That is when we'll see the patterns. It takes years and years and years and years and years for us to actually see, like, experience the pause in the moment. It takes time, right? And each time a new thing comes up, it takes time again. But what we get to do right now is we, after the fact, get to see the pattern. It used to take me a year before I saw the pattern, and then a month before I saw the pattern, and then a week, and then an hour, right? Now it's minutes. And I go, oh, sometimes that, not in that moment, two moments later, I missed the opportunity for the pause. Deep breath, I'm human, forgive myself. And that is the pattern. I mean, over and over and over and over and over. That is called life. When I'm in heaven, I will smile the whole time, but I'm not there yet. So that's where I'm at. And especially rough weeks, we just give ourselves love. That's it. We love ourselves and say, I am a human being. And that means I make mistakes. I make bad decisions. I don't pause when I should. I'm not asking for the right thought or action. I'm just stumbling along, and it's okay because I'm human. Now, That's why we get step 10 at the end, right? And step 11 at the end of the day, I can look back. Do I owe an amends? Here's the practice that I have found so important. Okay. When I'm either in the moment, I can make amends, that's fine. Or later, I can look back and say, yeah, I do owe an amends there. And if I do, this is all I do. I notice it. I make amends if I owe it. I do better next time. No recrimination. I'm not going to sit down for half an hour later and say, oh, I should have smiled. But I'm not going to do that because I'm human. I make mistakes. That's what happens. That's what happens with humans. And I am as human as anyone. Right. And so it's the same thing, Vera. When you look at the time and you say, oh, this is one where I could have used a pause and I didn't. Okay, deep breath. Guess what? Do better next time. That's it. No recriminations, just do better next time. Make sense? I think you did not unmute, but you did move, so you lowered your hand. Thank you, Vera. All right, Melissa, to you.
Hello. My challenge about trusting something unseen, that's been my whole life. I have always, since I was a little girl, felt like, wait, why wasn't I born when Jesus was around doing miracles? How come I have to rely on hearsay and read about it later? Because I need it to be shown to me right now. And I don't understand. I'm a little worried about my recovery just because I have a very fragile sense of a power greater than myself. And that's when I'm in depression. I really have a hard time being able to feel the peace that higher power would feel like. So, and I don't feel like painting a picture or making a mandala because I don't even feel creative. But I just wanted to share that it's really hard to trust something you can't see when you're feeling really bad, you know. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Melissa. And yeah, it is. Those are the hard times for sure. Thank you. Joe, to you. And then we will go ahead and move on. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi. Yeah, I'm a type 4 as well. Also trusting something unseen, and that rings incredibly true for me. I've always said I'm kind of the sort of person that I'll believe in everything until someone proves me wrong. So I'm basically open to everything. Reincarnation, ghosts, whatever, aliens, whatever, until someone says it definitely doesn't exist. Then so it leaves me completely scattered because I can just change my mind from day to day. And it's that whole forness of not really knowing who you are. But I just wrote it down because I hate speaking, as you all know, so I thought I'd write it down. But what I've noticed that I'm changing a little bit is I'm kind of letting go of why. Even as when I was little, I was always asking why for everything all the time, obsessively. And I'm kind of starting to let go of, why do I get addicted? Why is it me? Why are things like this? And just kind of going in and trusting it instead. And just keep going back. And my son rediscovered church. We sort of stopped for a few years, and he's rediscovered church. And it was almost like he held out his hand to me. It's so weird for a 15-year-old to get his 50-odd-year-old mum. It's the wrong way around, but it's like it's another helping hand. I'm just like kind of trying to trust it. To me, it's all unseen and untrustworthy because there's no proof, and it's all about proof for me. But I've just noticed that I'm kind of going along with it, which is really not like me because I like to, control everything and kind of be in charge and do it the Joe way. But I now know the Joe way doesn't work. So I'm kind of thinking, well, what have I got to lose by trying another way? So I'm just taking hold of all these invisible hands and just going along with it and seeing what happens. And I have a meltdown every single week. I get overwhelmed every single week. That hasn't changed. And that's something I need to work on. But I have noticed that I'm just going, my daughter said this a couple of months ago, Mum, you've got to learn to go with the flow. And I'm kind of starting to just go, who cares if I can't prove it? Who cares if I don't actually know what I think about God or higher power? If I'm feeling a little bit better, then something's happening. So why do I have to spell it out to myself and go, it's happening because blah, blah, blah. Why can't I just accept it and just be happy with that in that moment until the next meltdown, and then pick myself up again. But yeah, if that
Thank
makes
you,
any
Jim.
sense at all.
It does. Thank you. So I really want to encourage the fours. I mean, this is even stronger than encouragement. We have Michael Naylor, First Fridays, for the next 3 months, talking about the instincts. And the four with specific instincts, right? All of the types, their instincts. I mean, the 3 instincts and the type together make 3 distinct patterns. There's actually 27 personality types, not just the 9. It's 9 times 3, right? And I really want to encourage you to ask Michael Naylor about this. He is a 4. So really, especially the 4s. This man has been in recovery for decades and has been an Enneagram, like he really, really knows his shit about the Enneagram. So I want to encourage you, because his is not the view from the cheap seats like mine is of the 4. I go, well, let me think. What would an 8 think of that? I can't do anything other than that because I'm an 8. So, but Michael Naylor is a 4, right? So I think it would just be brilliant to really, really, and he loves answering questions. So really and really pay attention to what he says, ask the questions, and share your stuff. Make sure you go on camera because he likes to see the faces that he actually has it set up so he sees you, like, you know, so he has not gallery mode, but he actually sees the person who's talking. So I really, really encourage you to pick his brain, right? Figure out what's going on there, because I think he can be so, so helpful. He's even been helpful to me as an 8, just very helpful. But for 4s, oh my gosh, I think talk about supercharged. It'd be awesome. So please take advantage of that for sure. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I will smile while I do it. Just kidding. I am going to smile while I do it, but this because my my PowerPoint is still open. It's amazing. All right. So I want everybody to grab your fill-in sheets. Grab your fill-in sheets if you remember to have that. If you don't, just grab a piece of paper because you're going to write this down. There was one part of the fill-in sheet. Let me go to the next thing here. Okay, this is for the 1. Notice at the bottom, what is the nature? You don't have that filled in yet. And I'm going to give it to you to fill it in. But first, I'm going to explain why I'm doing this. Okay. We are going to start at the end of today. You get your first assignment for step 4. And one of the things that or 3 of the things, I guess, that you can watch out for when you're filling in 4, because the goal of 4 and 5 is to identify those patterns that we talk about, right? Because once you see the patterns and patterns, the projections as projections, the structures as structures, once you see that, that is when the ego structure starts to dissipate. So we really want to be able to see that. So what is the nature? Is the nature of the 1 is certain things. The nature of the 2 is certain things, and so forth. So that's why that is on there. So you want to write it down. And when you're working your step 4, keep these in mind. So let me explain for a 1, okay? Sometimes what will happen is the 1 will have these, I'll say these problems, these issues that show up, these patterns that show up. So the nature of the 1 is to be perfectionistic, to be resentful, and to be judgmental. Not all types are that. But for the 1, this is something to watch for in your step 4. When we do the step 4 work and we do the inventory for step 4, this is something to watch for. Does everybody understand? Can I have some nods? Good. Okay. All right. So this is the 1. So if you're a 1, jot down these 3 things: perfectionistic, resentful, judgmental. By the way, these nature things are from a book called The 9 and 12 by Dr. Don Carroll. And I used it last year to kind of add a little bit of flavor to the step 4 inventory. This year, obviously, we're doing it by asking questions and so forth. So, but I still think that he hit the nail on the head here. So that's why these are here. Okay, so that's the 1. I'm going to move on to the 2. Okay, for the 2, the nature of the 2 is trying to control others so they will like you, being self-important, having a false sense of humility, and being possessive. So watch for these things. Doesn't mean you are this, but that's a good place to start, I guess, right? The idea here is watch for those. This might be also something that you share with whoever is the observer for your step 5. Once you finish step 4 and we move on to step 5, we'll have the observers that you're sharing with. And that observer, this might be a good thing to hand off to the observer and say, see if you see any of these traits in what I'm sharing with you, because sometimes it's hard for us to see ourselves, right? All right, so that's type 2. Everybody has that? All right, let's move on to 3. So for the type 3, the nature is being emotionally detached, trying to look good, and being vain and self-promoting. So these are the gotchas, if you will. These are the patterns that often show up for the type 3. So if you're type 3, jot down those. And once again, it's at the bottom of the screen there. Being emotionally detached, trying to look good, being vain and self-promoting. All right, now the 4s. We have lots of 4s, so we'll hang out there a little bit. All right, so the gotchas for the 4. What is the nature?
Chair,
Being,
can you please
yes.
slow down just a little bit because those are a lot of words to write down. So could
Sure. Do you need me to go back to 2?
No, I did it, but I'm just speaking for myself. Maybe I'm the only one that's a slow writer, but
Okay, I'm a fast talker, so.
yeah, so that's a combo,
We're a
right?
match made in heaven, Tamara. Okay.
Thanks,
All
Chair.
right. Yeah, you bet. All right. So for the 4s, what is the nature? Being self-absorbed, getting lost in self-pity, being envious in others. And once again, it doesn't mean necessarily that you have this if you're a 4, but it's certainly something to watch for. Okay, so being self-absorbed, getting lost in self-pity, and being envious of others. Everybody good? Okay, I'm going to move on. All right, for the 5, we don't have many 5s, but I think
Take a few little words of inspiration, a daily reader, a prayer. I hope this helps. There is a quiet time in recovery, a time to stand still and heal, a time to give ourselves a cooling off time. This is a time of introspection and healing. It is an important time. We deal with our issues. Recovery does not equal abstention from life. Recovery means learning to live and learning to live fully. Recovery means exploration, investigation, experimentation. Recovery means being done with the rigid, shame-based rules from the past and formulating healthy values based on self-love, love for others, and living in harmony with this world. For today and always, God help me to let go of my need to deprive myself of being alive. Thank you.
thank you, Cheryl. That's lovely. All right, so one of the things I want to say is if anybody has something like this, you know, a minute or so reading, I think when we all come back from the breakout rooms, we'll do a mental break to bring you back kind of to intention so that we're back here. And if there's like a favorite passage that you have, and once again, you know, a minute, like a for today kind of thing, right? That was beautiful. So thank you for that. All right. I want to talk real quick about what Joy started to cover. I'm hoping that we can cover this in a way that isn't confusing to anyone is the goal. All right. And once again, this is, since we're working the steps by type, this is for type 8, which is what I am. And the way that it's organized is there will be launch question 1 week and then an inventory list the next week and then launch question, inventory list, and so forth. So I want to show you, and I have, you'll want to take a picture of this next slide as soon as it's ready to go. Okay, so this is the resentment inventory. There is the resentment launch question, which is assigned today, and you're going to share on it next week. And then the week after that is my resentment list assigned next week, and then you're going to share it on the 14th. And then after that comes the fear inventory. And the first thing is the launch questions for the fears, right? The 13th, and then, right? And then my fears assigned on the 20th, and then the 27th, right? And then here, the next one is the harms inventory. The launch question is the week of the 4/27 shared on 5/4. And then the last thing are the my harms list assigned on 5/4 and then basically shared on 5/11. Take a picture of this and also this. Yay, Joy, thank you for doing it. She just put it out on the website. On the Supercharge page, it has all the different types, and then down below are resources. And there is a picture of this, and if you click below it, it blows up to full size, which you can print or do whatever, but it has all the dates on it. So you know what's assigned this week and when do I share it. And we thought this would be very helpful because we want to break this out. So it's always the launch question first, resentments first, obviously launch question. And then the next week is the resentment list. Then the fears launch question, followed by the fears list. And then the harms launch question, followed by the harms list. And once again, step 4 is 6 weeks long. In the middle of that, we're going to be doing training for the people who will be observing or who want to observe step 5. So we're not calling them sponsors, although you could do it with your sponsor, but we have step 5 observers who basically are observing the sharing of that so that they can help you see the patterns. All right. So this next week, your assignment is to do the step 4 launch questions. And what Joy was saying when I got back onto the internet is we do know that this is more work because there's 4 launch questions, not just 1 this week. There's 4 of them. And then the resentment list is next week. And we know that that is true. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and see if there are any questions or comments or any additional shares coming out of the breakout rooms. We've got about 2 minutes, 3 minutes before we shut this off. And let me put this in. When I come back, when I'm pinned, I end up this giant head that, anyway, I don't think anybody likes that. I hate it. But anyway, so now we can share, somebody can share, and then we'll go finish the recording, and then we'll continue to share for like half an hour if anybody wants to. Joy, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, I actually wanted to just comment on the step 5. It is really, I mean, if you have struggled with what to do to give service, this is the time to step up and do that. There is a full page on exactly what's needed. So it's the guide for the sponsor. So there's a guide for the sponsee, a guide for someone to lead people through their step 4 once it's completed. And it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. I actually had the opportunity to do it fully with not even a person in my God squad, just another person in surrender school. And it was a lot. I got so much out of it. And the true value of step 4 comes through. Step 4 is what it's supposed to be now, because what it's really supposed to help us do, it's the beginning of seeing the patterns that got us into trouble. So we get to see them. It's just beautiful, and no one's wrong or anything or bad or anything. It's just what it is. So we get to allow God to work on them in the later steps. I just wanted to share that. I really hope that you will all step up and be an observer and go to that training. Thank you.
And one of the things we're doing is we're calling it an observer because literally it is just someone who is observing so that they can help them see the patterns, because sometimes we have trouble seeing our own patterns, right? That's like human nature to do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close it right now. If you want to stop recording, we'll say a prayer, and then Jennifer, Linda, Shirley, and Becca, I'll have you share here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and close this with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom
to know the difference.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, all right.
Thanks for recovering with us.